Hi everyone, I am your host Meek and I am here to help you map your mortgage. I'm going to try my best not to look up because there's a glare and it becomes a distraction. But I'm a full-time glasses wearer, so I'm going to do my very best. I first want to just say thank you so much for each and every one of you who has purchased this course, whether you have purchased it for yourself or you've purchased it for someone else. Thank you. If you have received this course from someone, please thank the person who purchased it for you, because I truly believe that there is something in this course that will help change your mindset about home buying as well as just real estate investing in general. So I want you to take this opportunity to go ahead and get your notes, a paper, pencil, so that you can take notes. Although the information will be provided on slides, there are some screens that do not have content on them. It will just be me talking through it. Because you have purchased this, there are some exclusive information, some nuggets or some jewels that I will be dropping for you that will not be on the actual screens. So I want to make sure that you're engaged and you are getting everything you need out of this course. Should you have questions about something that I say, please feel free to DM us. And someone will, get back to you and return your inquiry. So this module is the first module. It will be about getting started, getting organized, how and what you need to do in order to jumpstart this whole thing. I am the author, Shamika Goins, and this entire 4-part module will be published through my company, Collective Effort Real Estate LLC. Excuse me. So let's talk about it. Whether you are a W-2 employee or you are a 1099 self-employee, I will give you exactly the information that you're going to need to prepare and get ready to start your mortgage application. This is especially if you are financing a property, if you need to go through a lender. So it sounds simple enough, but this is the part where people get crippled. They don't know what documents or things that they're going to need, and it always puts them behind the ball instead of in front of it. I totally don't know what that analogy even means, but basically it makes you unprepared versus being prepared. Let's just say it that way. So what do you need in order to apply for a mortgage? You are going to need to do a mortgage application. They will verify your income, your assets, your debts, your credit verification, and other records, like a birth certificate. Why do you need it? Well, back in 2008, the housing market crashed. They were handing out mortgages like candy to a baby, and they weren't really doing the due diligence of finding out if these lenders could afford their mortgages. And so what was happening was, when the market was starting to fluctuate, people were on, variable arms. They weren't on fixed rates, and rates started increasing dramatically for people's mortgage. They were unable to afford to pay it. A lot of people began to go into foreclosure, and it was just a complete mess. And so now people have, the industry has wisened up a bit and gotten more serious about the people who are looking to actually purchase a home. And so let's go over the documents that you are going to need. This next slide that I want to talk through is going to be about a mortgage pre-qualification versus a mortgage pre-approval. And why is that so important?
Right, we going. What a money reside, what a money reside, what a money reside, what a money reside.
Okay. So your mortgage pre-approval or your mortgage application section is where your money resides, and you need to know how to get your hands on it. So let's pause for the cause and talk about your pre-approval versus your pre-qualification. Your pre-qualification, when you start talking to a mortgage lender and you're ready to actually start submitting documents, that's going to be the pre-approval. Your initial conversation, your initial, hey, I just want to get some information on securing a mortgage, is going to be them asking you some general basic, your name, your address, where, maybe your rental history information for the last 7 years. But the number that they give you from the pre-qualification is going to be an estimate. I like to say a guesstimate. It's a good guess or an estimate on what it is you can borrow. Now, I will say this, because there are a lot of lenders that don't do things the right way, and I'm going to just be completely honest and transparent about that. If you are not interested in having your credit run at the time in which you approach a lender, do not give them your social security number. By giving it over and consenting to submit that application, you are consenting to have your credit run. It doesn't matter if whatever verbal conversation you all have, well, no, I'm not going to run it just yet, blah, blah, blah. If you are not interested in having your credit run at that time, do not give them your social security number. If they're asking for it, there's a slight chance that they may be running it to get you a pre-approval. So again, the pre-qualification is only an estimate of what you can borrow. You don't need much information provided to get a pre-qualification. Now, when you are going to get a pre-approval, they will begin to ask you for your social security number and your rental history, all of those things that we're going to get into. But that is a thorough investigation of all your information to see exactly what it is that you can afford. Now, some websites, some like Quicken Loans, Rocket Mortgage, things like that, they will ask you just for some upfront basic information and then pop you out a number and say, congratulations, this is what you're approved for. Keep in mind, that's only a pre-qualification. It is not a pre-approval. I don't care if they do say you are pre-approved. It is not a pre-approval that a real estate agent, a seasoned real estate agent, will want, because they know that you have to go through so many other hoops in order to get pre-qualified or qualified for that mortgage. Okay? So during this point, you've probably talked to a real estate agent and they've asked you, well, do you have a pre-approval letter? Well, no, I haven't really started working with a lender. Okay, well then go to your lender. They may give you a couple of names of people that they can refer you to. You want to do your own research in who you want to do business with. But hopefully by the time you go through this class, you will know exactly, once you start doing that research, what things to look for. When you do the pre-approval application and you're going and you're submitting all the documents that we're about to go into, your lender is going to ask you, do you have an address? Well, now you're stuck in between a rock and a hard place, because here it is, your agent is asking you for the pre-approval letter. Your lender is asking, in order to give you a pre-approval letter, I need an address for a property that you're looking at. Here is the best situation to do in that instance. Find a property within a fair budget of what you think you can qualify for. So let's say your pre-qualification is $125,000. Go ahead and look for a house on Zillow or somewhere, realtor.com, that you may know is up for sale, that is like $100,000. Give your lender that address. You can always change this address later when you actually get the pre-approval and you and your realtor start looking for houses. It may not always happen that way, but that's just one way to handle that situation if you ever get into it. I know that is the situation that happened for me and a couple of other people, and that was just the fix. You don't have to have all this anxiety and headache about an address. You can always change the address later once you find the property you want. That pre-approval letter is going to be key, because once you do find the property that you actually want to put a bid on and you want to submit earnest money to, and the clock starts ticking on that earnest money deadline, which is generally about 2 weeks, you're going to want that pre-approval letter, because they're going to need to submit it with your contract saying, yes, I want to purchase this house. So the application is step one. It's basically where your borrower is saying, here I am, Mr. Lender, I want to tell you about myself. And then the lender comes back and says, okay, now show us the documentation that supports the information that you just told me about yourself. So let's look at the things that you're going to need for that. So details about the type of mortgage you're applying for, information about the home you plan to purchase, again, the address, square footage, things like that, basic identification information about each borrower. So whether it's just you solely, or you and your spouse, or you and your best friend buying a house together, you're going to have your basic identification information readily available. Employment information for the past 2 years. I'm going to get into that. Income, monthly income and household expenses, a list of assets, that's what you own, and then your liabilities, what you owe. So your assets and your debts. Details about home transactions, a declaration of legal issues that may impact your financial situation. So, whether you're paying alimony or child support, things like that. Then obviously they're going to need a signature, which confirms the information that you declared is true and accurate. And then optional information. Let me get out of the way. Optional information for government monitoring purposes. So, do you have other properties? Do you have offshore accounts? Do you have, did you just recently win the lottery? Things like that. And then they're going to need the purchase contract, which is going to be signed by yourself and the seller, and then government issued identification. If you are watching this and you don't have your social security card, you can't get your hands on it. If your birth certificate is, then you need to go ahead and start thinking about gathering that information now, so that you will be equipped when it's time to start this process. Do yourself a favor and go ahead now and get organized. So let's keep going. So let's talk about the income information that you're going to need. And if you see me looking down, it's because I do have some talking points and some notes that I want to make sure that I hit, so that you're getting all the details. So when a lender is checking your income verification information, they want to know that you are stable and that you are consistent. So your W-2s, they are more than likely going to ask you for the past 2 years of each applicant on the mortgage. Let me stop here for a second. Let's say you are married, or like I said, you and your best friend or whatever want to purchase a house, but the other person isn't working. or you know they don't have 2 years worth of employment. They can still be listed on the deed of the house when you close on that house, but chances of them being listed on your mortgage may be slim. It's not impossible, but it is a lot of other hurdles that you all will have to jump through. And you need to know, can your income alone qualify you for the amount of house that you are looking to get? 9 times out of 10, having those two incomes qualifies you for more home. So where you could purchase a home on your own for $100,000, or get financed or qualified for a mortgage of $100,000, if your partner had the correct qualifications, let's say they make more money than you, they don't have as much debt as you do, that could put you in the $250,000 range. Okay? But if they don't meet those qualifications, just know they still can be listed on the deed. They will not probably be listed on your mortgage because they don't meet the qualifications. Also, if you do qualify based on your income for an excessive amount of home, let's say $350,000, because your income is just like that, your debt to income ratio is just popping that way, you don't have to take $350,000 worth of house. So if your lender says you are pre-approved for $350,000 and your realtor says, well, what kind of houses are you looking for? It is okay to say, I want a house no more than $115,000. That way you are not house poor. Especially if something was to happen, if something was to happen to you, you would still be able to afford your home with your eyes closed. You know, you can go out here to any little part-time job and work and still be able to afford your mortgage. What is house poor? It describes the situation of a person who spends a large portion of their income on housing expenses, including mortgage payments, insurance, the taxes, and all the maintenance and utilities that go into purchasing a home. And it leaves very little money for anything else. So food, gas, clothes, getting your hair done, being presentable, the things that you need as a necessity to just your way of living. You don't want to have to forego or forfeit those things because you wanted to live in a mini mansion. All right. So if you're a W-2 employee, consider making sure you have those W-2s from your past 2 years of employment. A lot of places do it electronically through like ADP or, through some sort of like human resources system. You may want to talk to your human resources person to get that information. Your pay stubs. This shows that you've earned what you've earned, and they're probably going to want like 30 days worth. They may even ask you for the last pay stub of each year. So they want the last paycheck stub of 2018, the last paycheck stub of 2019. I want to say this about your pay stubs and your pay. If you're a person who sells cars, or you're a person who receives a lot of bonuses or incentives on your jobs or commission work, you get a lot of overtime, mandatory overtime and compensation. Some lenders will even require that you work there 3 years, as it is a statute of some loan types. So let's say like you're trying to qualify for an FHA loan. Some loan types will want you to have worked at your employer for 3 years in order to qualify or count the additional income that you've made in bonuses and commission. So not all places are looking for 2 years. Some places are looking for 3 years. So I don't want that to throw you or you to be caught off guard by that information I am telling you now. So if you are considering leaving your job in the next 6 months and you know you want to buy a house within this year, consider holding out. I know, but consider holding out and finding some other supplemental income to bring in more money for yourself. But the key here for income information is not just stability or reliability. They are looking for consistency as well. All right. Your income tax returns. If you are a income hopper, and I'm leaving this on the screen so that if you need to go back, I'm not going to read word for word. I trust that if you've purchased this class, you can read, and that is not being funny at all. If you are having difficulties or problems with reading or literacy, please have someone go back through and read these screens, these slides to you so that you are able to get the information. I'm not going to read it verbatim. I'm just going to talk on each point. So for your income tax returns, if you are a person who hops from tax person to tax person to tax person to tax place, you may want to go ahead and consider who it is you've done business with in the last 2 or 3 years. Did they email you a copy of your federal and your state return? Do you have a copy of your, last 3 years tax return? Can you get your hands on it? If not, you want to go ahead before you even begin this process so that you are not wasting your time or someone else's time, and figure out where those tax returns are. If you are self-employed or you're an independent contractor, you need to be able to get your hands on your Schedule C. That's your list of debts. You need to get your hands on your 1099. And you are going to want to get your profits and your losses. Okay? They want to know your cash flow. They want to know your profit and loss statements. They want to see all the documentations, your Schedule C that is produced once you file your taxes every year. They're going to want to see that. So if you pay alimony or child support, whether you pay it out or whether you're receiving it, whether you live off of alimony. Okay, girl, I see you. Okay, boy, I see you. But if you are living off of alimony, they are going to want copies of the court order along with the bank statements to show that these payments are being made regularly or that you are receiving them regularly. So whatever way it goes, whether you're paying or whether you're receiving, they're going to want the court order that goes along with it or the bank statements. If you are not receiving child support through court order, I get this question all the time. Well, what if I'm not receiving child support through court order and it's just something that me and my co-parent have established as an arrangement? You're going to need to do some sort of agreement and have it notarized, and you're going to more than likely either forfeit that income if you don't want to do the due diligence and trying to get it as established as a legitimate income. You can provide it in your bank statements, but you're also probably going to want to get an agreement typed up between you and that person and have it notarized. And they may actually even, some lenders may have them do a gift letter, and we'll go over that too. Before we go to the next slide, I just wanted to say this. So lenders check your debt obligations and they calculate your debt to income ratio. Lenders want to know that you have the assets to be financially sound after paying down your payments, or after paying all of your debts. They want to know that you have enough income to be financially sound to purchase this home. Again, they are not playing about giving these mortgages out to people who cannot afford them. So let's kind of just do a small recap of what it is you're going to need. And throughout this, I will be moving myself all over this presentation. So just bear with me. So again, you're going to need 2 years worth of your W-2s. You're going to need your paycheck stubs. You're going to need your income tax returns. You're going to need, if you're self-employed, you're going to need those returns, your current profit and loss, as well as your list of debts. That is also called your Schedule C. Okay? So let's talk about something really quick as it relates to your assets and your debts. On the application, you will list or attach all of the documents. So at this point, your lender is already set you up with some sort of secure site where they are going to ask you. You can either email me this information. If you are using Google, I would always Google. And when I say Google, if you're using Gmail to email your lender this information, they have a feature where it is confidential mode. You can turn on the confidential mode on your Gmail, especially if you have to send them copies of your identification, like your license, your social security card. If you have to send them copies of anything that someone could get a hold of and compromise your identity, use those confidential modes on your email if they are not providing you with a secured site for you to upload these documents. Most lenders should have them, but I have worked with lenders who do not have them. They don't have that capability. They're a smaller lender. They just are not as tech advanced. That doesn't mean you can't protect yourself. So if you have a Gmail account, use the confidential mode. That confidential mode will expire within 7 days. Hopefully, your lender gets to your information prior to that 7 days. I love that mode for many reasons because it also helps them be accountable to me. I call them, hey, John Doe, I just submitted all my information to you via email. Those documents will expire within 7 days. So, it will be important for you to go ahead and get that information downloaded on your side so that you can get what it is you need. Because if you are working with someone and they take longer than 7 days just to open your email, you already kind of know how that business relationship is going to work. And you already kind of know how that process is going to be from the beginning. They're either going to drag their feet. Your stuff is not as important or priority to them as you would have it to be. And then that just tells you kind of everything you need to know about the experience in which you're going to have with this person all the way through. So here's some other information that you're probably going to need to go ahead and collect. So they're going to ask you about your auto loans, your student loans, any credit cards, and any other existing mortgages that you may have. Now, I want you to know that for different loan types, so whether you're doing an FHA loan, if you're doing a USDA loan, and we're going to get into all of that, I think that's going to be module 4. But depending on your loan type, they calculate your debts differently. So for example, with your student loans, some lenders will count. So let's say you owe $59,000 in complete debt of student loans. They will take 10% of that amount, so $590, is what they will calculate as your student loan payment debt. Even if, let's say, you work out an arrangement with Fannie Mae or whomever that your payment is only $139 a month. Based on your loan type, they will take 10% of your full debt amount in student loans and add it in for your debt to income ratio. They will add it in as that number being your payment. There are other loans that only will qualify only 5% of your total debt. So each loan type is different, but we will get into how your debts are calculated. So these modules are going to build, and they're kind of going to get a little bit more complex, but I want you to see exactly what all goes into this so that you know how to be prepared to present your information. For your assets, they're going to want bank statements, 401k statements, any stock and dividends. If you're a person like me and you invest in the market, they send you documentation at the end of the year saying this is how much you've earned or taken as income or what have you. They're going to want to know that information as well. If I don't cover it in these next couple of slides, towards the end, I'm going to show you how to calculate your debt to income ratio. So let's talk about your bank statements. Again, they're going to ask you for 2 to 3 months of your bank statements. I'm going to take me, for example. So I have my own personal account. My husband and I have a joint account, and he has his own personal account. They are going to want bank statements from every single one of those accounts. You cannot not disclose any accounts that you have. If you have offshore accounts, they're going to want to know and get the bank statements from those accounts as well. They're going to want and when I say those accounts, I mean I have my own personal checking account, my own personal savings account. We have a joint checking and a joint savings. He has a joint checking and a savings. He has a personal checking and savings. So that's 2, 4, 6 accounts that we had to produce bank statements for the past 2 to 3 months. So you would have to go to your local bank and have them print those out. In some cases, depending on the lender, they want those notarized. If they have to be printed out, if you don't have them on letterhead, the ones that they mail to you at home, if you don't have those, they're going to ask for printouts and then have them notarized at the bank. So just know that there are a lot of hoops and a lot of little things that you have to do for each individual item that they're asking for. Be prepared. Home buying is not for the faint in heart, and it is not for the lazy. You have to be willing to jump through these hoops when they ask you for it so that you are not the holdup of this process. And in return, you make the people that are working for you do the same thing. There shouldn't be a reason why I can't get an update on the status of my application or the status of the information that I submitted to you. I'm petty to the point. I'm like, I need to get a confirmation that you've received my documents if you rush me and inconvenience my entire day for me to get you these documents. The minimum I want out of you is a thank you, I've received this. That's just me. But it also holds them accountable to getting that information from me. So if you're not receiving them via email, if you're my business account, they email me my bank statements. But those bank statements are not on letterhead. So I have to go to the bank to get them printed out on letterhead anyway, and then have those notarized. So just know that there are certain hoops that you'll have to jump through. Be prepared mentally and emotionally to be able to maneuver your schedule at any given moment for this. If you're not going to be doing this now prior to you going into it. This is why I'm going over it here so that you can go ahead and start working on it. If there are large deposits, the lender is going to ask you for a explanation of these really large deposits. Let's say they're not, so again, like child support. You and your co-parent don't have an agreement, but they said, I'm going to give you $2,500 a month, let's just say. You're going to have to explain what that money is. And from there, they may ask for additional things and documentation and little hoops that you may have to jump through. So again, like, well, we need them to sign an agreement. You're going to have to go get an agreement drawn up. So just be prepared for counter task that may have to happen based on certain things that they find. So for your retirement and your investment accounts, again, they're going to want statements from that. Your brokerage, whoever you're doing business with, they should have that information. Sometimes you can go and print it out right online, depending on who you're working with. But just know that that's something that you're going to have to do. If you have taken money from that 401k account previous to this home buying purchase, they're going to want to know or may ask you to explain that withdrawal. So let's get into the gift letter. I told you we would. So again, they may ask for you to provide a gift letter. Now, this is because the lender is also not only trying to figure out, can you qualify for the mortgage, but they also want to know, how are you going to close on this mortgage? How are you going to, what down payment are you using? So again, you can use your 401k for a down payment. You can also use insurance for a down payment. I'm going to go into some other ways that you can make your down payment for closing in module 2. So stay tuned for that. But this is why they're asking for this income verification. Not only can you afford the maintenance and the utilities and the taxes on your mortgage, but can you afford to even get to the closing table? So if you have lump sums of money coming into your account, or they say, well, what are you, based on $100,000, we're probably going to ask you for $10,000 for closing. Do you have $10,000 available for you to write as a check to come to closing? Well, I have, $50,000 in my 401k account. I can get it from there. Okay, perfect. Let's get the statements. Let's see, because they're going to want to know how you're going to pay for that. If you say, and you're just blessed to the point where you're like, well, my church raised $10,000 for me to close on my house, or my mom or my grandma is going to write me a check for $10,000. They're going to ask for grandma, your church, or your mama, or whoever to give you a gift letter to provide how it's going to cover the down payment. Okay? They just want to know where this money originated from. They want to make sure you didn't go steal it. You didn't, you ain't out here doing nothing crazy. And this cannot be a cash transaction. What is a cash transaction? This can't be, oh, well, my church just going to deposit me the money in my account. They collected the money and they deposited it in my account. That's a cash transaction. Oh, my mama put the money in my account yesterday. That's a cash transaction. My grandma wired me the money from her overseas account. That's a cash transaction. They're going to want you to get either certified funds via money order or cashier's check directly from your bank. So that money, they know, went through a legitimate financial institution, and that money's not laundered. This ain't drug money. They want to know that this money is clean money and that it walked its way through a financial institution and got into their hands. So just keep in mind that's another little hoop you're gonna have to go through. So you'll not only have to get them to do the letter, but you will also have to make sure that the funds are delivered to you, certified check, personal check, or money order. Okay, it cannot um, be cash apped or bank transferred. So this is your recap of your assets and debts. Let's talk about, actually, let's back up. So let's pause for the cause again. And let's talk your debt to income ratio. So now you have provided them all of your income, right? Paycheck stubs, all of that. They know exactly how much you make monthly between, all of your sources of income. And they also know what all of your debts are, top to bottom, even your rent, all of that. Your miscellaneous expenses, they may ask that. Excuse me, like cell phone bills, stuff like that. So they know all of that information. We're gonna go into it in module 3, I believe. A full breakdown. I'll show you in a diagram how your debt to income ratio works. But just know in this moment that it needs to be a 36 to 28%. Your debt to income ratio doesn't need to go over that in order for someone to service you for a mortgage. So if you have 50%, 60% more debt than you have income, or your debt to income ratio averages out to about 40%, they're going to ask you to either pay some stuff down, pay some credit cards down, get your utilization down on your credit cards so that it can improve your score as well as it can improve your debt amount. Because it's not all about a credit score that qualifies you. It is about how much debt you owe. So some where you may have good utilization on a card, they may say pay it down because that will eliminate that debt. Go ahead and pay that card down all the way because it will eliminate that debt and draw that debt ratio lower. Okay, I hope that's making sense to you. So it's not always about the score that you have. It is also about the debt ratio in which you have. The credit utilization in which you're using impacts your score. We're going to go into all of that as well in these modules. But if you are watching these modules and you've purchased this course or someone has purchased this course for you, you already have the 2 free ebooks that come with it. One of the ebooks I wrote, it took me a very long time to put it together, about credit scores, your debt to income ratio, how to work with collectors, scripts, transcripts, everything you need. Okay. You don't need to worry about your medical bills because that does not affect your mortgage or affect or disqualify you from purchasing a home or getting a mortgage. So if the thing that's spinning around in your head right now is about medical bills, forget about it. You don't even have to worry about that, sis or bro. Let's talk about those other records. So the other things that I was telling you was about rent. They're going to want to know how much rent do you pay. They're going to get you to provide at least a 12-month printout from your leasing office or some sort of documentation that shows you have paid your rent on time. If you are splitting rent, they're going to want to see your portion of the rent being paid and what your rent is in full, and if your rent was paid, period. They're going to want to see that. If you tell them that you are divorced, for the state of North Carolina, it takes, and I heard a real estate agent say this, her name is Rochelle Hobbs, super amazing agent. She's also in my matrix that you will receive for just buying this class. I have a whole matrix of people who are reliable. But anyway, she said it takes one to buy a house, it takes two to sell it in the state of North Carolina, and that is absolutely true. I took the the prerequisite for the real estate course. If you are married, you can go out and buy a house all you want to, but if you have a spouse, your spouse will need to consent to that. Your spouse will need to consent to that sale. So they want to know if you're married. If you tell them I'm divorced, they're going to want to see that divorce decree. They're going to want to know if you pay child support or alimony. Again, they're going to dig through your life to make sure you have what you need to be successful in this mortgage, because they don't want to have to lose money or cover that money. If you've been bankrupt or had a previous foreclosure, be upfront in the pre-qualification stage. When he's just asking you, he or she is asking you for general information, ask the lender how long you need to wait before re-entering into the mortgage market. You may be surprised. It may not be as long as you think. And I'm saying this because you may be watching this and you're in South Carolina. You may be watching this and you're in Georgia or Tennessee. And there's certain statutes. I am developing this course out of and based on information for North Carolina specifically. So there may be other statutes, credit statutes that don't apply for North Carolina or South Carolina. I know it's like certain places debt can't be charged for like 3 years. We'll get into all of that. So ask your mortgage lender. Don't be afraid to ask those questions, those hard questions up front. And don't let that scare you off of working with a lender. For foreclosures, you may have to wait 7 years. That may be the statute for it. But again, check with your mortgage provider. So before you get right into it. Non-citizens, you want to purchase a home in the U.S. Don't be deterred because you feel like you're not a citizen or you weren't born here. I'm from, you can say I'm from Jamaica or I'm from Trinidad or I'm from this place, but I want to purchase a home here. Just make sure you have your permanent residency, your immigration stuff, whatever, your green card, all of your visas and things in line, as well as possibly your birth certificate if you can get your hands on that. Just know it is possible. It's not impossible to purchase a house here and not be a non-citizen. That's the same thing if you are a resident here and you're looking to purchase a home in other places. Like one of my 10-year goals is to purchase a home in St. Thomas or St. Lucia, and it's totally doable. I've already started looking into it. And even in some cases, with the amount of purchase of real estate, you get dual citizenship. So you just want to look into it. You don't want to be deterred from it. But I'm telling you, for the United States, it is possible to purchase property and not be a U.S. resident. You can still be eligible. If you don't have credit, Experian now is allowing you to qualify your utility bills, your cell phone bills, so that you can build credit and have a healthy credit build. We'll get into that in the next module, but it's also in the book. So let's get into the credit verification portion. It's not going to be drawn out because, again, I have a whole nother module on it in a book. So credit checks are a part of your mortgage. You can they're going to ask you for your credit report. Credit Karma is not it, baby. All of those other places, those little apps and stuff that you use, those are not your credit score. No, sir, no, ma'am. Those are a gauge, if you will, of what your credit health looks like. Your actual credit score, you can find it on like freeannualcreditreport.com. You get one free a year. If you've already pulled it, you may have to pay for it. And that will give you your entire credit file. And it generally is like this thick, depending on how long you've had established credit. Again, some negative things on your credit won't prohibit you from a mortgage, like medical bills. The lender will also check your credit score. So yes, this is where the credit score is influential. Like I said, it's your debt to income ratio. So how much debt you have, your derogatory or your negative items don't always play a role into your debt to income ratio. Your negative items don't always play a role into qualifying or disqualifying you. So be clear on those things. And your credit score doesn't always determine your qualification or your dequalification, but it will determine your interest rate. It will determine where you fall. And here's the thing, poor credit, and I don't understand why we are the only system that has things set up this way, but the poorer your credit is, the more unhealthy your credit is, the more you have to pay. It is the most set you up for failure system I've ever come across, but that is the way it is. So if you have poor or bad credit, you will have to be penalized and pay more. And that's, you know, they don't care that, you got laid off from your job and got behind on your bills, and that's why your credit is poor. They just treat you like, well, you didn't pay who you were supposed to pay. You didn't do right how you were supposed to do right. And so you get penalized, and now you have to pay more. That's for a car. That's for a home loan. Your interest rate is determined by your credit score. So you want to get healthy, good credit. You want to be in the high sixes, sevens. If shoot for the stars, mama, go for the eights. But you want to be in the high sixes, and when I say high, I mean anything over 650. You need to be over 650. Sevens and eights before you start thinking about getting a mortgage. You could possibly qualify for some mortgages at a 590 credit score. But why would you want to when your payment is going to be out of this world? Your interest rate is going to be trash. You are going to have such a high interest rate, and you'll never be getting to the principal of your payment because you're always going to be paying that interest. We're going to get into that too. So keep that in mind as to how your credit is working for and against you. If you have late payments or collections, they're going to want an explanation letter for that. My suggestion to you is take advantage of your ebook. Get those derogatory items off your credit yourself. I also have a company, my business provides a service that we have a group of attorneys that will allow you to, for them to take care of it for you. So if you say, you know what, as amazing as that is, I appreciate you giving us this free tool for me to walk myself through how to clean up my credit. I don't have the time. I'd rather just throw money at it. And, I don't have time to like print those letters off. dig through my credit report myself. I don't have time to send those letters off and keep track of it. I just rather throw money to it. I have a very affordable program that my company offers, Collective Effort Real Estate. We offer credit repair services, a mean group of attorneys who will help you get those late payments off and collections. It's a 6-month system, but it can improve your score by at least 100 to 200 points. And I'm telling you, that's something you want to consider prior to going into getting a mortgage. That's why the getting organized part is not just about knowing what you need, it's collecting the documentation, having it readily available, being put in place in a position where you're ready to just jump right into a mortgage. I want to stop and say this on this screen too. You do have people who say, you know what, well, I'm not going to, because you have people who don't even know, and you may be one of those people watching this. There's nothing wrong with this, but you may be a person who says, I don't even know my credit score. I don't know what's on my credit report. I've never looked into it. I've never been interested in it. All I know is I want a house, I want a car, I want a this, and I want a that. There is nothing wrong with that. But I will say to you, if that is something you want and you purchase this class because you are serious about getting a home, you're serious about purchasing a new car or whatever in the future, you're going to have to dig into that information one way or the other. You can download apps like Credit Karma to get a gauge on what your score is. You can go to Free Credit Report, freeannualcreditreport.com, and get your free report and see what your actual factual score is. Another thing you need to know is your credit score for purchasing a home is not your credit score for purchasing a car. They are not the same score. They don't qualify the same way. What qualifies you for a house will not qualify you for a car, and what qualifies you for a car will not qualify you for a house. That is how credit works. It is a very mean and green system. So you need to be prepared for that. If you know nothing about your own personal business, don't be embarrassed by that. I have people who say, well, you know what? I'm just going to go talk to a lender and let them run my credit, and they just tell me where I am and what I need to do. That's also an option. I'm not deterring you from that option at all. Some people, I know when I first was interested in real estate, purchasing a home, I was a senior. I was a senior in college. I had just graduated college, and I spoke to a lender. I let them run my credit, and they told me everything that I needed. My credit at the time was at 850, so I got immediately pre-approved for $125,000 to purchase a home. That may not be your situation. They may come back and say, okay, you have this, 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 and this, and this, and you need to fix your credit. Listen to what it is they say and go fix it. I admonish you, though, if you are going to purchase a house and you know you're going to start working with the lender that's going to run your credit, I would do it all on the same day, but I would have at least 4 lenders that you feel like you want to do business with. Do an application with each and every one of them. Take one day out, do all the information with each and every one of them. See what they're going to pre-qualify you for. Get that basic general information to them. Even take the next step. Give them your social security number. Have them run it. Having a mortgage lender or provider run your credit will only lower your score 1 to 9 points. It will only lower your score from 1 to 9 points. For a car, it's completely different. It will dramatically drop your score. But for a home, it will be a soft inquiry, and it will only be 1 to 9 points. But you don't want to run the risk of the 4 people that you go to be 9 points each. And then you do it on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and Thursday. That's why you want to do it all on the same day. Hear out each one of them, see what they have to say. Each lender has different things and different agendas and different objectives. Now, being someone who is moving over into the mortgage side very soon, I'm not embarrassed to say it. Every lender has different objectives, different agendas. So one lender may say, I'm sorry, you don't qualify. I can't do business with you, because they have an agenda. They want you to be qualified for a conventional loan, or they want to get you qualified for this or that because there's a new product out and they want to get you qualified for it because that's where their commission is or whatever. You want to do business with more than one person in that first go round because you want to see who has your best interest at heart. I had a lady call me back. She was so nasty and so rude when I first started getting serious about buying my home later on. And to me, her manners were just, she didn't have good manners. She didn't have good customer service. And I knew my process would be filled with like anger and just all of the emotions that are negative in buying such a big purchase. This is a huge purchase to go into. You want to get it right, and you want someone who is going to have your best interest at heart. You don't have to do business with someone who's not friendly or is not willing to be transparent and explain to you certain parts of the process that you may not understand. You don't have to do your business with these people. Find someone else. I will tell you, it was 2 days before my closing on a property, and I fired the lender and started over with someone else that very day that I fired them. 2 days before closing, I had gotten all the way down to the wire, and I just was like, I can't. The signs were on the wall, and I should have listened, and I didn't. Don't be afraid to walk away from a deal. I have gone on a rant, so let's continue. That actually brings us to the end of this. So if you have enjoyed this first module, I please ask that you would go on our Facebook page. You can search Collective Effort Real Estate LLC on both Instagram and Facebook. But I would love if you would leave a review there on our Facebook page of this course so far. If this has been very informative, if you feel like this information has been deemed worthy in your opinion of other people purchasing it, please encourage others to get it. If you're here, it's because you got the early bird. But if you're watching this and you didn't get the chance to take advantage of the early bird, there are other products that we will be releasing, and you'll know next time to go ahead and jump on it. So please leave us a review on what you feel like this course was worth, just this first module. If you want to wait until all 4 modules to leave your review, you certainly can do that. But thank you so much for joining us. Please stay tuned. Check your emails for module 2. It will be coming very shortly to you. Thank you so much. And again, I appreciate you, and I look forward to hearing your success stories on how you are going to map this mortgage and get into your dream home. I also can't wait to hear your feedback about the modules, as well as any questions you have. You can feel free to inbox us, message us, or DM us. Myself or someone else will answer your question in a very timely manner. So I appreciate your patience, and thank you again. Bye, guys.